our spending habits have actually changed quite a bit during the pandemic. Why is that?
Yeah, so spending, especially if it's mindless or impulsive, is a response to what an individual is going through. So it's important that any financial behavior that manifests, we can tie it to some external environment, and this external environment was the pandemic. So if a person feels isolated, or if a person feels lonely, it leads to certain types of spending. If a person feels disconnected, and they start planning for the future or buying things they hope to do, when the pandemic is over, it gives them a feeling of connectedness.
Then what are some of the common causes of this sort of overspending or new bad spending habits? Because a lot of us who are home are saying, well, we've got nothing to spend our disposable income on. We can't go anywhere. We'll spend it elsewhere. How do you know when it's constructive spending and when it's emotional overspending?
Yeah, so I think some of the emotional spending, we can tie it to basic emotions. Like if there is fear, I don't know what tomorrow is going to bring, so I have to spend this money right now, right? Or if it's the pursuit of happiness, I really want to be happy, so I think if I spend this money right now, I will be happier. We also have anxiety, right? And some people have anxiety and they see it as a reason to hoard, or maybe we're just going to oversave. And then obviously uncertainty plays a big part in this. And so it can stop some of the behavior and make us more prudent, but it can also lead some to go a little bit overboard.
Well, in order to break a bad habit, we need to acknowledge it. How do you start to acknowledge and recognize bad spending habits? Because let me tell you, I can easily rationalize my spending.
I think the rationalization is always good, right? We have reasons to buy, and I think that part is good as well. But it's not a zero-sum game, right? We're trying to understand kind of what the environment has asked us to do and kind of what the environment has not asked us to do. If you're ordering delivery and you're paying a premium for some of those foods, and now you have the opportunity to go out and prep and not pay that premium, that's something that you can do, right? The external environment has changed, so your behavior should change with it.
Something I noticed in my own life, the pace of my spending jacked up. I could hit 10 stores in 10 clicks.
Yeah, I think when we look at pace, it's a very important part to talk about, because when we're by ourselves during the pandemic, we really don't have any barriers getting in the way. So we just don't need to respond right away. It's probably a good idea to write some of these ideas down, put them in a drawer, or put them in your desk drawer or something like that. Come back to them in a week. If you still feel the exact same way about it, then it may be something that is worth doing.
George, you're about to become the voice in my head. You say that there are actually 3 essential questions we should be asking ourselves before we continue to spend, especially online. What are those questions?
Is it needed? Is it useful? And what goal is it attaching itself to, right? If those 3 questions are hard to answer, there is no reason to buy it, right? In asking ourselves those 3 questions, we're able to help our minds distinguish between whether it's a need and whether it's a want. And so this also helps us become more mindful. And when we're mindful, we aren't mindless. And so we have the ability to go through some change.
Should we be more mindful of our debts when we think about spending, right? When we're online shopping and things are on sale and we go to use that credit card, when we're looking at the price of something, should we add on the minimum or the interest payment we're facing every single month with our credit cards?
Yeah, and so I think to that point, the how long it's going to take to pay it off, so time should factor in to that conversation, right? As we go in, exactly how long do you want to take to pay this off? And so if we can actually be aware and mindful of the time that it will take, whether the utility that we're going to get out of that product, it may change some of our responses. And so if I am going to pay this off longer than I have utility, then I need to think about whether or not it is appropriate to use.
Should we revisit online, for example? Should we have our account information automatically in some of our favorite websites? Or should we be getting so many notifications? Because I can tell you, especially at a pandemic time, when we don't have that many exciting, external forces, those notifications and featured items and sales, they draw me in.
Yeah, and I think we just have to make sure that we are aware of the temptation that it causes. And so goals are extremely important in that case. If we can put goals in front of ourselves every single day and really go back to those three questions, like, am I attaching this to a goal? Do I need it? Do I want it? Those are the parts that allow us to actually not be tempted as often as we possibly can be.
It sounds like what you are telling me, George. It is my time to unsubscribe. I'm thinking of all of the retailers, the newsletters, the temptations, and I'm telling you, I'm like, click, 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 click.
Take your control back, Stephanie. I think that's the best thing we can do.
George, thank you so much for joining me today. I'm going to start unsubscribing as soon as we sign off.